we have such an incredible opportunity of having several experts with us talking about Eden and Eden PhD's community that is starting actually, a new, let's say, a new life today. But let me, in the meantime, while other people are accessing the website, let me share my screen and tell you a little bit more about us and about what we are here for today. So as I was saying, we are starting a new Eden PhD Spotlight series. This is, in fact, the Hidden Digital Learning Doctoral and Postdoctoral community that starts today a series of spotlight meetings where we really wish we could give you an overview of the opportunities that we have in Europe for early researchers. We wanted within the Eden Management Board to think of possibilities for the young generations involved in research. Research means development, research means growth, research means knowledge creation. And so we really need all of us, all our societies need to support young researchers. So that's why we wanted to identify, to support PhD candidates and early stage researchers, of course, and to have a space for exchange, collaboration, mutual support across different countries and disciplines. This is the time when the possibility to create new networks is, very, very important and I would say rich of possibilities. So if we could support this kind of networks, the benefit would go to really everyone. The other point, and that's why I'm going to talk about that in a minute, the other point we really wish to support is the possibility to understand PhDs and early researchers' needs in order to support their journeys, not to leave anyone behind. So we are going also over this kind of meetings, give opportunities for networking, for mentoring, for international collaboration. And, the other point, and we are going to talk about that a lot today, thanks to the participation of our experts today, to understand which sort of professional development, which sort of career opportunities we can get for PhDs and early researchers beyond academia, beyond, of course, university opportunities. I can understand this is a very ambitious objective. We would really like to, in a way, renovate and innovate doctoral education practices. But I might have forgotten of introducing myself for those who don't know me. I work at the Department of History, Humanities and Society of the University of Roma Tor Vergata, Italy. So I'm here as board member and chair of the PhD community within Eden Digital Learning Europe. I also chair a Center for Research, a joint university center for research, the Intellect Joint Research Center, which is based in Roma Tor Vergata, but is a joint university center with the University of Modena and Reggio Emilia. I'm also involved in training postgraduate graduates exactly in who wish to develop their own career in the area of heritage experiences. And so we share two different postgraduate courses in empirical studies in museum education and advanced studies in heritage education. Again, also there, our focus and our idea of using technology in a critical way, as I always say, not technology for technology, but the use of technology should be critical and selective. That is one of our aims. I'm also associate researcher at the National Center Council of Research in the Institute for Cognitive Sciences and Technologies. Besides that, to hand actually my introduction, I share with you a QR code. And I invite all the participants, all our early researchers participating in the meeting today, to focus with their cameras on our code, where a questionnaire is offered. As I was saying at the very beginning, we really, really need to know your personal needs. So our need is to know your needs. But besides the play on words, please connect to this QR code, complete the questionnaire. It takes a few minutes, but it is very, very important to us through the meeting to collect some data in real time. And at the very end, I will show you some results. This is important to know each other better, to understand where to address our opportunities to share with you some contents that can be really, really helpful for your development and career. But besides that, I will, while we go on today, I will show you the QR code several times. I am really, really proud of having with us such a wonderful and rich panel. I am truly honored. So we have with us Mika Levonen, Head of Sector, European Research Executive Agency, European Commission, of course, Silvi Serreqi, Project Advisor, European Commission, European Innovation Council, and SME's Executive Agency, Isabelle Brianso, Vice Rector and Associate Professor at Avignon University, France, and our wonderful Marquard Smith, Associate Professor at University College of London, Department of Culture, Communication and Media. Thank you again. I'm introducing each of us. As we know, we have a limited time, so 10 minutes each, and I'm so really, again, honored to have Mika with us. Few words about Mika's experience is that of sector at the European Research Executive Agency of the European Commission, where he works with the Marie Curie actions, focusing on the management of MSCA postdoctoral fellowship. In his role, he contributes to the implementation of European research funding programs that support researcher mobility, career development, and international collaboration. He has an extensive experience in research program management with the European Commission, including roles as co-coordinator and project officer. With a background combining academic research and science policy, his work supports the development of research careers and the strengthening of the European research and innovation ecosystems. Thank you again for being with us. The floor is yours, Mika.
Thank you very much, Antonella. Let me just share my screen then, and I can start the presentation. There we go. So I will take this opportunity to promote the Marie Skłodowska-Curie actions, which actually have their 30th birthday this year. There are some events happening all around Europe, various dates, places, and you will probably see this logo being displayed everywhere. My background is I choose to keep the one that's very home oriented for me, coming from Marie Curie Skłodowska-Curie Actions unit as well. Have a look. There's a web page dedicated to this. You will find it through either RIA's web page or otherwise online if you just Google it. There's a lot of things happening. That aside, doctoral networks and postdoctoral fellowships is on the order today. But before we dive into those specifically, look at where Marie Skłodowska-Curie actions sit. So it's part of the Research Framework Program, which is now on number 9, and it's called Horizon Europe. There are 3 pillars to this. We sit in excellent science together with the European Research Council and research infrastructures. And then very briefly, you have in pillar 2, you have societal challenges, and in pillar 3, innovation, very briefly. So we're in excellent science. So Marie Curie actions, there are a few of these around. I work in the unit that manages the postdoctoral fellowships. And I used to be in the unit on doctoral networks, but that was back in 2016 when I left those guys behind already. There are other Marie Curie actions available too: staff exchanges, co-fund citizens, and then choose Europe for Science. But these get a little bit further away from the contents today. Co-fund, it's basically, as the name suggests, co-funded by universities and the Commission, but it's locally run doctoral and postdoctoral programs. Whereas the first 2, the doctoral networks and postdoctoral fellowships, these are directly funded, managed by the Commission, and then implemented directly by beneficiaries. So what's true for all of the Marie Skłodowska-Curie actions is that it's a bottom-up program. You can be from any scientific area. We do evaluate in 8 different scientific panels. So we have chemistry, economy, engineering, environment, life science, maths, physics, and social sciences. And the budget is always split pro rata. So if we get only social sciences proposals, the entire budget would go there. But usually it's a very different split. So it's regardless of where you apply, you have the same possibility or probability of getting funding. We use 3 criteria: this excellence, impact, and implementation. All proposals are evaluated by 3 independent experts. And that's, the first steps to get through before you actually arrive at the funding. So more specifically on doctoral networks and postdoctoral fellowships. On the left side, doctoral networks, these are done through consortia. The consortia proposes a research project, but it's implemented through individual PhD research projects. And this is specifically for doctoral candidates that do not have a PhD yet. And it comes in 3 different flavors: standard, joint doctorates, and industrial doctorates. The postdoctoral fellowships, it's different because these are individual fellowships. There's one beneficiary that manages the grant. There is one researcher who already holds a PhD, so as the name suggests, postdoc. Each of these proposals, they have one research project, and it comes in 2 flavors, European or global. So if we go to the doctoral networks first, the joint doctorates is a collaboration between at least 2 universities that have agreed to give out a joint or multiple doctoral degrees to successful candidates. And this requires that there are pre-agreements on this kind of setup. Here, the selection of candidates and the supervision is joint through the different participants. To your top right, there's industrial doctorates, and this, as in the name, it provides training in academia and in industry. And there is a divided time imposed on this, so it's 50-50 in both. And there's a joint supervision between the academic participant and the industrial one. And then at the bottom, you have the standard doctoral networks, which provide training in academia and potentially also industry, where you can have industrial participants in these consortia. So the conditions to participate in doctoral networks from an applicant and participant point of view. What you need to make a consortium, you need to have at least 3 independent legal entities, each established in a different EU member state or Horizon associated country. You need to have a minimum of 1 beneficiary from an EU member state. There is no limits to associate partners, since these are not, they are in the grant agreement, but they don't sign the grant agreement. And there can be as many as you like tied to each beneficiary. All beneficiaries must recruit at least 1 doctoral candidate. And these beneficiaries, they are required to host them at their premises, as well as supervise these recruited researchers, or do this in collaboration with their associate partners. Another limitation is that no more than 40% of the contribution may be allocated to beneficiaries in the same country or single international organization. So there has to be a little bit of a spread in the participation. So if we look at the researchers, already said before, doctoral candidates, but not yet in possession of a doctoral degree. So you could be recruited into a doctoral network having already started working on your thesis, but not having had a degree yet. The recruitment, it has to be open, merit-based, and transparent. So all the positions in these doctoral networks will be openly published by the participating organizations. And there is a mobility rule imposed on the fellows that get recruited into these networks, so that they cannot have carried out or resided in the country where they will be hosted for more than 12 months in the previous 36 months, immediately before the recruitment date. So that's on the fellows. The fellows otherwise can be from any nationality. For the consortia, the budget is up to 540 person months, and we talk about person months because Marie Curie, this is unit costs programs. So as an example, this would mean 15 different universities that recruit 1 fellow for 36 months each. 36 months is not something that's imposed. The fellowships can be from 3 to 36 months for doctoral networks and the industrial doctorates. For joint doctorate, they can be up to 48 months. And then the grant itself will have, for the consortia, it will have a duration of 48 months for the doctoral and industrial doctorates, whereas for joint doctorates, it can be up to 60 months. And it's within these 48 months that the beneficiaries then have to recruit the fellows from anywhere between 3 to 36 months, as said. And the fellows, they can, on top of being recruited to a host, they can go on secondments anywhere in the world for up to half of their time. Now, postdocs. European versus global fellowships. For the European fellowships, this is open to nationals of any country that come to Europe for a period of 12 to 24 months. For the global fellowships, this is for European citizens or long-term residents that first go for an outgoing phase to a third country outside of the member states and associated countries for 12 to 24 months, and then they return with their knowledge for a mandatory return period of 12 months in a member state or associate country. Then on top of this, at the end of the project, you can have a non-academic placement for a maximum duration of 6 months. So for the organization that participates in an individual fellowship, it can be pretty much any organization in a member state or associated country. For the researchers, there are some limitations. They need to have their PhD before the call deadline, or at least they need to successfully and unconditionally have defended their thesis before the deadline. And it's the beneficiary that needs to keep proof of this should they be audited. For the European fellowships, any nationality, as I said. For the global fellowships, then it needs to be either citizens or long-term residents. The long-term residents, that's anyone who stayed in Europe for 5 years in total with no more than 6 months at a time out of Europe, and then combining less than 10 months of absence. So being a long-term resident is also possible. Is that my 2-minute mark? Let's see how we
Yes,
get on.
sorry.
Yeah, so these projects are shorter. So from 12 to 24 months for the European ones, 24 to 36 months for the global fellowships. And there's also the potential of going for secondments in these, up to half the time. There's the NAPs, as we call them, the non-academic placements, and these has to be, they are part of the proposal. So if they're written in at the proposal stage and they're with a host that's in the non-academic sector, it's an addition to it. So it adds 6 months to the project and then enhances the industry, academia connections. I talked about the budget. So a typical postdoctoral fellowship, it will amount to roughly 200,000 euros in funding. And this is split on the fellow's salary, which is made up of the living, mobility, and family allowances. So you can see the higher up you have the one for the early stage researcher, and then you have the lower one for the PhD or already holding a PhD. So it's doctoral networks versus then the cost for the postdoctoral fellowships. And then you have the institutional costs on the right. Now, there's a lot to be said for all of this. And on the last slide, there's some resources that you can go to. It's everything is super easy to find. Anything you Google will get you immediately to the participant portal, and you will get any information there. I can also recommend directly the Marie Curie webpage, as well as RIA's own webpage, where we have collected a lot of this information. And I think that brings me to the end. So thank you very much.
Thank
So a
you so
little bit of
much.
a rushed
Thank you
end
so
there.
much. There are many, many points that we wish we could develop, but we hopefully will have time in the end. Thank you so much, Mika. It was absolutely precious to all of us. Thank you again. So let me share again my screen and the QR code. I hope you are getting it. sorry. Please connect to this QR code while we have been talking and connect to it, answer the questions. We really wish we could be able to show you some results in real time at the end of the meeting and anyway share with you some of the findings. Going back to our wonderful presenters, in line with what Mika told us about the opportunities with the, possibilities that the European Commission offers, we have another very, very important guest. I really thank Silvi Serreqi for her time today. She's project advisor at the European Commission, European Innovation Council, and SME's executive agency. Silvi Serreqi is a project advisor at the European Innovation Council, SME's executive agency of the European Commission. In this role, she contributes to the management and implementation of EU-funded programs supporting innovation systems, interregional collaboration, and capacity building across Europe. She has been involved in initiatives such as Interregional Innovation Investments Instrument, supporting projects that foster cooperation between regions and strengthen innovation capacities. Her work focuses on facilitating collaboration among stakeholders, promoting innovation-driven growth, and supporting the development of European research and innovation networks. So we are really eager to listen to your contribution. Thank you again for being with us. It is actually what we really need to support from now on to our participants to show them which are the different opportunities that we have being actually, I would say, luckily located in Europe. So please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Antonella. I'll try to do my best to share with participants all the opportunities, and of course, in line with what my predecessor Mika was sharing, I will share my screen as well and start my presentation. I hope you can see it. Yes? Can you see it?
Yes, we can see
it.
Okay.
Okay, perfect.
Right.
So indeed, as Antonella introduced me, I'm working in the executive agency for the Innovation Council and the Small and Medium Enterprises. And just as an introduction, those agencies are implementing the framework programs of the European Commission. So usually they last 7 years. And indeed, also REA, where Mika is working, is such an agency. So basically implementing the biggest, in this case, Horizon Europe research program. But let's introduce my unit, and in particular the projects that I am handling myself, together with my team, of course. We are the unit that is in charge of the innovative ecosystems, and we have 3 branches, so to say. One is the European Innovation Ecosystems, which derives from the Horizon Europe. Then we have the I3 instrument, which is part of the structural funds. So this is a regional policy. And then we have the EIC Forum and EIC Prizes, who are also part of the Horizon Europe program. And just to connect with the slides of Mika, this was the 3rd pillar of the Horizon Europe. So you saw the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. So the European Innovation Ecosystems are part of the 3rd pillar. And I will go into detail to those projects, which are deriving from the new European Innovation Agenda, which is based on 5 flagships. It's about funding for deep tech scale-ups. It's about improving policy-making tools, and this is the EIC forum and the pilot on startup scoreboard. Then we have enabling deep tech innovation through experimentation spaces and public procurement. And here you can see in detail the stimulating experimentation practices, the specialization advisory services to build capacities on innovation procurement. This is still the EIE. Then we have accelerating and strengthening innovation in European innovation ecosystems across the EU and addressing the innovation divide. Then we have the Women Tech EU, which is part of the fostering, attracting and retaining the deep tech talent. Here we can see that the new European Innovation Agenda has the fact sheets, and if you go into the web page of the new European Innovation Agenda, you will be able to see in detail all those fact sheets that are related to it. But let's go into detail to the specific calls that my unit is managing at the moment. They are called different destinations. So we have the Connect destination, the Scale Up destinations, and the Innov SMEs. And if we go into detail to the first one, it's about connecting, strengthening, and expanding the cooperation between innovation stakeholders to better support the next generation of innovative SMEs, whose solutions will lead and shift towards a more competitive European Union and a more sustainable, inclusive, and resilient world. The Scale Up is about elevating and the scalability potential of the European SMEs, helping innovation ecosystems to support companies to better sustain their growth and gain new competitive advantage. The Innov SMEs partnerships on innovative SMEs, it's a long cooperation among European and or international partners with at least one innovative
I don't know if it's me, but I can't hear you properly. Silvi?
Antonella, can you hear me now?
Now it's better.
Yes.
Yes, we had some. So if you can go back to the previous one.
Evaluation of all those calls is
Sorry, Silvi, there's a problem with your connection. Silvi? Fortunately, it might happen. No, would stop. I'm sorry to stop her, but the problem is Silvi? Silvi?
now.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Unfortunately, we couldn't hear you. The connection was very bad. I think I would stop you. Please check your connection and let me go on. But just if you could stop sharing. Okay. Silvi, can you hear me? Okay, let's see what happens because I don't know if it was, but it was just a connection, I think. Your connection, Silvi. Would you like to
Can you
try
hear me
again?
now?
Let's see what now I can hear you well.
Okay, but okay, it doesn't matter. I can maybe it was the presentation that was taking the network. But what I wanted to say is that we are working with different stakeholders. Most of them are researchers, small and medium startups, very innovative SMEs, and of course, part of those projects are researchers, PhDs, and so there are plenty of opportunities. One of those projects that comes on top of my mind is called Core 1201, and I can give you the contacts of this project. They are awarding, they are giving, they are funding specifically the PhD researchers. So that's totally relevant with the Eden community. And what I would like to underline is to share and to collaborate with those kind of projects, because there you will find very interesting opportunities to work with peers like you that have been going through funding difficulties, how to fund their experiments, and they are trying into starting startups and others. So I'm sure that will work into. But I would like to show maybe the data hubs.
Yes, please, let's try.
So where
I think it was the presentation. Yes, you were right.
yeah,
But
probably. Yeah.
anyway, as you might have understood, I'm talking to everyone who is online now. Sylvie's job is particularly relevant, and the possibility, as I always tell PhD students, we need to teach and let's say to share how to collect funding, because this is as I say, one of the skills, a very, very important skill that PhDs and early researchers should develop. We need to study, but we need to study how to do fundraising. Unfortunately, this is the duty of researchers in order to develop, to carry out their own research aims. So what Silvi is telling us is particularly relevant and important. Yes, please, Silvi,
I
show.
will share the data hubs where you can
Yeah,
find
exactly. And then, of course, you can also through me contact Silvi and have we will share anyway the different presentations.
I hope you
Okay,
can.
great.
Here is the data hub, so where you can basically go into all of them. Here you can see the ones that I'm particularly in charge of. There's some time to open it, and you will see a map. And if you click close to all of the projects on the map, so those ones here, for example, you find exactly where the project is located, where are all the beneficiaries located, who they are, and what is the project about. And there you find all the contact details. Sorry, I'm in the wrong line. Yeah. Here I will make it. So you see here, you can say, for example, there are 36 partners part of this project. And obviously, if you go into it, you will find all the details of all the other partners and all the description of the project, what it is about. And you have also the way how to contact those partners and stakeholders. So, for example, you can also research you can put a keyword into the search, and then it will give you the field of those projects. So you can easily find the field that you are interested in.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. We'll be in close touch and we'll hopefully devote one session to these opportunities and ways of access information. Thank you. Thank you so much, Silvi. So I'm back to introduce our presenters today. But before giving the floor to our wonderful Isabelle, please connect, answer the questionnaire, and we'll give you a feedback in real time, hopefully. And anyway, we'll keep in close touch. So, our Isabelle, thank you for being with us. Isabelle is vice rector at the Avignon University. She teaches museology and communication oriented to cultural heritage. Her research focuses mainly on discourse and analysis of heritage processes in an international context, as well as the study of museum visitors and cultural mediation. A former Marie Curie Fellow hosted by the Autonomous University of Barcelona, Spain. She's an expert evaluator for the Cultural Roots program of the Council of Europe. Thank you so much for being with us, and please give us your overview as vice rector, but as former Marie Curie holder. Thank you so much for being with us.
So thank you, Antonella, and thank you all of you to be connected today, because I think it's a great session to discuss about how to write, how to present a PhD, not a PhD, but a postdoctoral or doctorate connected with the European vision, which is not an easy task. So during my presentation, it will be not a formal presentation. It will be more kind of testimony of my own experience regarding Marie Curie fellowship, because I got it 15 years ago as a postdoctorate inside of the SOC panel, as Mika mentioned previously in his presentation. This experience was important in my career because with that I could push my career, especially to additional European funding with different profiles, such as PI, but also as scientific members connected with other European projects and partners, as we did with Antonella, for example, in a European project, and so on. Besides, due to that and other European environment, I could get this position about expert evaluator for the European Commission. And I'm often invited inside of the French National Contact Point, the Cluster 2, to testify also about this experience, which is important one, but at the same time, it's quite difficult to have this global vision about how to deal with that. So my speech, I really want to be concrete, and so I will be focused on my own experience about this European funding as a long-term vision. I think we have to make this projection as a long-term vision. And from my point of view, but of course we could discuss about that, I dissociate the project itself when you apply for a Marie Curie fellowship, for example, because in the project you have a different kind of criteria, such as excellency in science. You have also impacts and implementation, which is a way to write the project, which is different from a typical research piece of paper. So I think the project itself, maybe if you want to voilà, the student connected today, maybe you can ask for Eden a community to organize a specific workshop or seminar about how to write this kind of project, because as I would really wanted to stress, is not a second PhD or a summary of a PhD that you have developed inside of your own research. Is something else. It is not a copier-coller, as we said in France. You copy, and after that you put inside of a call. It's something quite different. So from my point of view, you have really to keep in mind that it's a long-term process that starts from the beginning of your education at university. So I made a difference between the project itself and your background. I mean by that, how you are going to connect your capacities, your own capacities, connected with research, but not only with research. I mean your language abilities, your different skills that are going to be involved or put inside of a European project such as the Marie Curie, because we are not speaking only about research, but we are also speaking about training, networking, and this one is in progress. So we are not supposed, you are not supposed to know everything, but to keep in mind that it's a long-term training session, and it starts with the PhD, the postdoctorate, and after that, during your own career. So this one, I think it's an important point, and I recommend you, especially people who are connected today, to think about what kind of concrete activities, workshops, seminars can help you to write and to rethink your research, to transform this research into a European project, as we mentioned this morning. So to continue with these capacities, also, of course, because we are all international during this session, English language is so important today, especially in research. So I think it's obvious for everyone. But it's if you can go further than that, I think it's important too, because as we can see, especially when we discuss with Antonella and the other partner, we are also dealing with a cultural environment, which is different from a country to another one. And well, I think this one, it's also important to give further about these cultural skills, especially when you are dealing with the European project. So often what I observe when I speak with my colleague or when I share my experience with a student and so on, we often observe that when students think about to apply for a call, it's at the end of their master's degree. And because they find themselves an ability to continue in a PhD. So they think about this opportunity to apply for a PhD as a start or something. But what we observe, it's you have to think about how to present, to write this PhD application a couple of years before applying for that. I mean by that, this European vision about what you can get after your master's degree, you students maybe have to think with different offers that the university can present, such as the European mobility, such as Erasmus, of course, but also to be involved into a European research community. to have a first training about what research is specifically in a European environment, because each country in Europe has its own rules inside of the university, and I speak from the French part because we, especially in humanities, we do not have this dynamic connected with the European dynamic, especially with the European project. So it makes me, it takes an effort, an additional effort to go in this direction. In France, we have also different kind of opportunities to apply for a PhD. Of course, as Mika said before, or Silvi, but Mika about industrial doctorate. In France, we observe also this connection between small and medium enterprise connected with research, which is not new, but quite new. After that, we have also the European joint supervision, often a bilateral. I notice, Antonella, 2 minutes. This joint supervision, kind of bilateral supervision between two countries. And I wanted also to stress about two options that often we forgot about them. In France, we have a European PhD label. It means, as I did, you have to defend your PhD in 2 languages, spend at least 3 months in in a European country, and to have at least 2 members of inside of the jury when you are going to defend your piece of research work. And the last point, but maybe we will have a discussion about that. It's also the opportunity connected to the European Research Council with, as we call, ERC, with a starting grant. And often young researchers, they forgot about that because because they are impressed about the program itself, or because they are not so much confident about themselves, especially connected with research. But I think this one is also a great opportunity, but again, to apply to these European opportunities is not your own PhD paper of work that you are going to copy and put inside of research. It's something else that you have to write, to think in a long-term session. Thank you.
Well, thanks to you, absolutely precious, your contribution. We will have to time to discuss that, hopefully in the next few meetings. So now back to our speakers. I know there's a lot to say, there's a lot to share. And today, actually, we had really, we were very lucky because we are having wonderful speakers at such a large panel, but we really wanted to have a strong start. So thank you for being with us, Marquard Smith. Marquard is academic director of HRC's London Arts and Humanities Partnership, a doctoral training program across 8 London higher education institutions and non-higher education institutions, including London Museum, the National Archives, the Victoria and Albert Museum, and so on and so forth. I know he doesn't want me to to read the whole thing. I thank him again. He has a very, very truly European background. So I thank him so much. I know it's been provocative in the chat. You're right. We use English as a lingua franca, and we need UK back. We really, and I'm talking to those directly involved in the European Commission, please help all of us to have UK back. I thank him a lot, and I leave the floor to him immediately. Thank you, Marquard, for being with us.
No. Thanks so much for the invitation. It's lovely to be here. I'm really grateful, and I've learned a lot over the last 55 minutes as well. So thanks to all of the other contributors. I'm incredibly mindful of time. I realize we've got about 4 minutes left. So I'm going to be
Don't
super
worry,
quick.
please go.
We're going to extend a little bit.
Yeah,
I mean,
yes.
for me, the most important thing is to hear from the PhD students and the early career researchers to hear about what their needs are. This is very much something that drives the way that we think about the London Arts and Humanities Partnership, which, as Antonella said, is a doctoral training partnership that's funded by the Arts and Humanities Research Council in the UK. The Doctoral Training Partnership, DTP, is the model that we've had in the UK for the last decade or so, across all of the subject areas, across all of the research councils. The Arts and Humanities Research Council, in its wisdom, has decided to wind down the doctoral training partnerships in the arts and humanities, which is a terrible shame, and we're very grumpy about it. But at the same time, we've still got another 2 or 3 years to work with our students. We have 400 students currently across these 8 higher education institutions. And what the Doctoral Training Partnership does as a model, and this is why I'm sharing this conversation with you, for students, but also for those working in higher education and those working in funding as well. The Doctoral Training Partnership as a model provides training and development for students across a number of different institutions, across the arts and humanities. It does professional development, it does placements, it does research methods training. It gives you skills in turning chapters into articles. It gives you skills in turning PhDs into books. It gives you, as I've said, up to 6 months to work in industry or creative and cultural institutions, which is incredibly beneficial for your professional development. There's all kinds of funding attached for the students, which allow them to develop their research, to go on trips, to organize events, as well as attend them, and so on. I say this because I think it's a great model, and I think it's a tragedy that the AHRC are winding it down. But I think there's a really interesting issue that comes up around the centralization or decentralization of funding. As far as I understand it, in Italy, funding is decentralized. Institutions are taking the lead on recruiting students. So the question of the kind of training and development opportunities that can be made available to students are very much dependent on the department or PhD program they're in whatever faculty that happens to be, in whatever institution. So networks become more and more important, communities become more and more important because of the need to try and create a critical mass of students, but also the staff and resource that you need to properly support their professional development. It raises all kinds of questions for me, this issue of centralization and decentralization, around what the purpose of the PhD actually is, around who gets to do it, around what it's for, what the purpose of the PhD is for, and also who it serves. And I think that when you're looking at a doctoral training partnership where you have, as I said, in our case, 400 students, it becomes possible to think much more strategically about what the purpose of a PhD community is, and who it's serving. The minute that becomes atomized and institutionally specific, it becomes much harder to kind of strategize in a more sector-wide or nationwide way about who we're actually meant to be serving in higher education. I'm just going to say one more thing, which is that we had a training day 2 weeks ago where we had people come in to talk about post-PhD, talk about funding, postdocs, early career research, about the prospect of working in higher education. There is none in the UK. The prospect of working in cultural institutions and the creative and cultural industries. There is maybe like a small chance. But what came up and what was most interesting for me and most devastating was that there wasn't a single student in the room that had any idea about how to think of the idea of a career. and there wasn't a single student that had any idea about how to think about the idea of a future for themselves. So, I'm going to leave you with that, because, as I said, that for me was the most interesting and the most devastating. Um, you know, what I have to do, and what my colleagues, and I guess more generally what we have to do, I think, is to create a context where it's possible to support our students in that climate, and to work out ways that we can offer what we're calling aftercare as they make that transition from higher education to goodness knows what. So I think anything that we can do to support them in that is really quite essential. Even when we're talking about funding students who are the most fortunate and the most privileged, certainly in the UK, we're actually only talking about a quarter of the students who are registered to do PhDs. 3/4 of the PhD students in the arts and humanities in the UK are not funded. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Okay, I'm done. Thank you.
Oh, thanks to you. The points you raised are so vital, and that is why, we are really even more supporting in carrying out our series, because as you just told us, we really need to give them and to give young researchers a perspective, a possibility. They represent our future. If they don't think they have any opportunity, this is really worrying for all of us. Yes, absolutely. We really need to support them and to show them that there are instead different opportunities. Now, that is why we were inquiring with our young researchers, and I want to show again the QR code, which is here. I'll leave it here. Consider that the questionnaire is completely anonymous, so don't worry about answers. We, as Marquard just said, we really, really need your perspective, your views, your reflections, your inputs to develop a program that could be more and more situated in what is your specific need. I think today we touched different areas, and I am so thankful to our speakers because each of them brought us into a world that we need to explore, and we'll have the opportunity to explore it in the next meetings. We were going to have very focused meetings next times. I really want to show you, besides our questionnaire, the opportunity you have, the great opportunity you have to meet with us, to meet at the Eden Annual Conference. You still have time to submit your contribution until, few days left. But anyway, please contact us to submit your contribution to come to the conference in June in Porto, and to, of course, be part of the PhD symposium, where you'll be able to present and discuss your research, to receive feedback from international experts, and to build networks. As from the very beginning, we said today, it is important to build this kind of networks, to carry out your own research, to share your ideas, to have career opportunities, to have also the possibility to participate in the European funding opportunities, which is very, very important. This is the QR code where you can connect to the PhD symposium submission form. But again, while receiving your questions, I just want to devote these last 2 or 3 minutes to 1 or 2 questions that hopefully are coming from the audience, and I leave this code on so that you can keep on giving us a feedback, and then we'll share the feedback with our panelists and with all of you in the next few meetings, in the next meetings that we are going to have. So I'm just looking for questions. Let's see if there's don't worry, Marquard. If there are questions, and if you are there, please let us know. I don't know if you have the possibility to raise your hands or, send me questions. I'm sure there are questions. Let's see. There's one from Luca Contardi. Thank you all for the very insightful presentations. Which skills do you consider most critical today for PhD candidates or early researchers aiming to build an international research career? Apart from the language or lingua franca, of course. So who wants to answer? Mika?
You have your pick. The most critical for a career, of course, your research, the basis of everything is, but learn to communicate it so that you can tell other people about it. And then when it comes for funding, you really need to write towards the criteria that you're going to be evaluated against. Nothing else. Concise and that. Then, of course, that's not a secret, and that's the advice that everyone gets, but it's ever so important. And an evaluator that will read tens of proposals, when they read something that's written in a format that they can digest, they can get to the essence of it without having to go through any faff, then you are much better for it.
Exactly. I always say the same thing. And another point I would really like to share with the audience, with participants and future participants in this Spotlight series is the opportunity to know more about how to write European project proposals and how, as you said, to actually precisely respond to the questions that are highlighted in the different calls for proposals. I don't know if Silvi and then Isabelle want to.
I can take this.
Yeah,
indeed,
please.
It's not so difficult actually. You take as an announcement of an application and you completely respond letter by letter. You first start with eligibility. You make sure that who is applying is eligible. That's the first thing. And then you go on with the selective criteria. And you really stick to everything what's written in the call for proposals. But you make sure that you answer point by point in a very clear way. This is it.
Yeah, I perfectly agree. Yes.
Can I make
Isabelle? Yes,
yes,
please.
yeah. Well, I think it's a very interesting question. Two answers. The first one, I think it's important to keep in mind that when you are doing the research in your country, you have research rules inside of your country. When you pass into a European system, the rules change, I have to say. I mean, especially connected with the panels that you are going to assess your project. For example, in France, we have a different a list of disciplines, and so when you are applying for a European project, you are going maybe to be assessed by someone who is not specialized in your own scientific discipline. So this point you have to keep in mind. And even if it's humanities. And after that, I think it's important to keep a distance with the research project, especially with the PhD. I mean by that to read the project as an evaluator, I would say. It should be clear, and because often we observe also a language, very sophisticated language, because there is some imagination also that the research has to be quite well. So maybe to clarify, to make a clear writing. Because this writing is going to be read by someone who is not belonging to your own country and to your own criteria, vision about the discipline.
Absolutely right. Thank you so much, Isabelle. I just wanted to read the comment by Renu Marley. Thank you for the floor. I'd like to introduce a practical application of the Human AI Collaboration Team at Phoenix Green Net Zero. We operate our housing and energy projects as living labs. We are just building infrastructure. We are creating research ecosystems and so on and so forth. Human AI collaboration. We invited the PhD community to view our consortia as site for empirical research. Thank you so much, Renu. And the question to Marquard from Carlo De Medio. Do you think, Mark, a doctoral course could be a solution to give students guidance on how to pursue their future careers, not only in academia, of course? More or less, you already gave a feedback to Carlo, but
yeah. Yeah, I was going to answer the previous question really quickly. I think that it's the only game in town, and it is a game. And number one needs to decide if one wants to play it or not, and if one doesn't, what else you might do, and how might you do that. But the second thing is that the thing that you say in your application isn't necessarily exactly what you go on to do in the project. So, you know, as everyone's been saying, I would absolutely stick with the incredibly straight, conservative approach, scientific, you guys call it, approach to these schemes, whilst at the same time recognizing that within the project itself, there's a wiggle room to do more interesting things. In terms of, Carlos's question, I think absolutely. I think it's really important for community to do community, you know, and I think that institutions have a responsibility to do that for their students. Part of the issue that I was raising, I guess, is around the critical mass and how you make sure that there are enough students across, let's say, the arts, humanities and social sciences within one institutions or a group of institutions within Rome or a group of institutions within Italy or within the EU or within Europe, that have the funding and the resources and the staffing to be able to put that kind of program together to support the academic and professional development of all of those students, so that they are as prepared as they can be to get into the world of higher education or cultural institutions or policy or industry, whatever it happens to be. But the responsibility is is with institutions. And I think we can exert a certain kind of pressure, but I think students can also exert a certain kind of pressure as well.
Yeah, you're right. Thank you so much. Thank you all. I think we were very late. I leave the code here to answer our questionnaire in order to collect your feedback and to come back to you in the next appointment with starting exactly from where we left today and starting from your feedback in order to give you answers and support as much as we can. I also, remind you about our conference, June 14, 16 in Porto, so a nice place to be in June, and our PhD symposium. Don't be shy, submit your contribution to the symposium, and hopefully we can build our community also in person, face to face, all together, starting new networks. Thank you again for your attention, for your participation on this first meeting of the Spotlight series. I thank again so much our panelists. I need to give you apologies from Silvi, who had to leave. We were quite late, actually. I thank Marquard, Isabelle, Mika, and we'll keep in close touch. Thanks a lot to the Eden Secretariat who made this possible.